tree. Yeah.
Wow, how fantastic was he, everybody? So this is Phoenix. He is our male Harris hawk that we've got here at the zoo. So you'll find him out in places around South Central America, so where it is sort of dry and arid sorts of places. You can kind of tell from looking at the coloration in his feathers. So he would camouflage in super well. Now these guys are actually a gregarious bird. So this does mean that you can actually see them living in groups with other Harris hawks, who's going to come up now and show you just how handsome and how amazing he actually is. But whilst he is doing a little bit of flying between myself and the rest of the keepers, you'll notice that he does actually have these lovely tail feathers, and he's got these nice little white ones on the bottom there. So when he lands on a perch, he might actually wiggle those little tail feathers, and that's basically a way of him communicating between myself and the rest of the bird team. They will actually do this out in the wild too, to communicate with other Harris hawks, and it's a little part of hunting. But these guys are super amazing hunters, and when they are hunting on their own, they can catch birds and things out of the air and stun them and stuff. But if they do want something a little bit bigger, they can actually work together to be able to catch larger things like any rabbits and stuff, to push those out of the undergrowth. So what they'll do, the males are a little bit smaller than the females, so the females will be flying up nice and high, and the males, they can actually run through the grasses to be able to push the rabbits and stuff out, and then the females can then dive down and everybody gets a really lovely tasty treat. So it's a nice big old meal for them to all share. But you can see that every time he comes over to all of us, he gets a lovely tasty treat, and that's a nice little bit of positive reinforcement that we do with all of our birds here. The Phoenix has actually taken himself off home, so let's all give him a nice little round of applause. That was Phoenix, everyone. So he was our first bird, but we are going to be joined by many more. But before we are joined by our next bird, I will actually just introduce myself and the rest of the bird team. So my name's Lily. I'm going to be doing the lovely job of telling you all about our fantastic birds here. But I am going to be joined as well by the lovely Paul. Let's give him a little wave. Hi, Paul. So he's going to be doing some great bits of training and stuff with our birds. And then we've also got Karen just off to the side. Should we give Karen a little wave? So she'll be also letting some birds out and doing bits of training with them, so I couldn't do this without them. But without further ado, we will be joined by our next bird. So she's a little bit bigger than Phoenix, and you actually find these guys out in the Falkland Islands. So these guys, they are actually from the falcon family. But they are a little bit different to others. So what they'll do, they spend a lot more time on the ground. So you'll see them going along shorelines and stuff, pulling limpets off of rocks and everything, and that is a nice little tasty treat. Or they'll be rummaging around in driftwood to be able to find any little bits of scrap food and stuff that they can find in there. So they aren't quite they don't do quite as much flying as other falcons would. Now, one thing that caracaras do really love is a penguin. So Tara's going to show you what they'll do. So they'll actually be seen out in the Falkland Islands pulling penguins out of nests and finding any penguin eggs for a nice tasty treat. So it doesn't always give them a great rep, because if you're a tourist going around trying to get some nice pictures of penguins and then you see a caracara coming along, it's probably not going to be a picture that you do want to remember. But these guys are super intelligent birds. So they've learned that humans are fantastic because they actually can help them find better sources of food without having to work too hard for it at all. So they have used those to their advantage. But these guys are really important for our natural ecosystems out in the Falkland Islands, because without them we would have lots of scrap meat and stuff lying all around. So they're really important to clear up any of that rubbish that we don't want lying around. Now Tiara, she's going to show you some of the amazing things that she'll do to use the humans to help her. So you'll see a caracara coming along, pulling people's food out of picnics and everything. Or she might come along and she'll go up to your washing line and she'll steal some of your t-shirts off of there. And that is a great source of nesting material. You're going to pull the other one, Tiara? Want to have a little go? So this means they're not going to have to go out and search for loads of leaves and twigs and things. It's going to be nice and easy, but I think Tiara got a bit confused. She's actually taking herself off home. Hopefully she'll come back out and do a little bit more. So they've also learned what day bin day is. And you can see these guys pulling over people's bins to find some nice tasty food. I think she's getting a bit too excited. Hopefully she'll come back out. There we go. So they do sometimes cause a little bit of trouble with the locals, but they are amazing birds. So that was Tiara. Well, let's give her a little round of applause. Well done, Tiara. Now our next bird that is going to come out is actually a native one. But before she does come out, I'll actually tidy up from Tiara, because one thing she's not learned to do, even though she's super smart, is she's not actually learned how to clear up after herself. So we've got to do that for her. But our next bird, as I said, she is actually a native species. So we're going to be moving over to the owl family now. So you hopefully have seen one of these guys before, or at least heard of them. So she's a very, very beautiful little bird. She's actually a little bit of an older lady that we've got here at the zoo, and her name is Gertie. So you might be able to see her now, and hopefully she'll be coming out in a moment and just showing you some fantastic behaviours that these guys would naturally do. So owls are actually the most widespread bird of prey that you can find around the world. So you find them on every single continent apart from Antarctica. There's actually lots of different subspecies of barn owls. Here she comes down. So you actually do find slightly different colorations in their feathers and everything. So you can see for Gertie, she's got that lovely white coloration and some nice little grey bits as well on her back. Whereas you can find some that are a bit more of a greyish browny colour. They do just vary in the way their feathers actually look. But if you have a nice little close look at her face, they actually have another name too, and that is called the love owl. And that's because her facial disc is a little bit of a heart shape, but their facial disc is super important for owls because it is like a satellite dish. So that actually helps for their sound. So they actually have asymmetrical ears, so one slightly higher than the other, and it helps them to pinpoint where their prey is. But she's doing something now. She's doing these lovely figures of 8, and this is called quartering the land. So she would be doing this above farmers' fields, and they have super amazing hearing. So they can actually hear a mouse's heart beating from up to around 8 metres away. So for reference, when she's flying above your head, she can actually hear all of your heart beating. But today, she wasn't hunting for any mice in any farmer's field. She was hunting for the sound of Karen's whistle. So we've actually trained Gertie here. When she hears that whistle, she knows that she's going to fly in and get a lovely tasty treat at the end of it. So they are super, super amazing. They rely a lot more so on their hearing because owls actually don't have amazing eyesight up close. So they'll use that hearing first to find it. From far away though, they can see quite well, but they will, as I said, rely more so on that hearing. But you can tell that Gertie is a female just by looking at her chest. If you're ever out and about and you see a barn owl, have a little look to try and tell if it's a male or female, because if it has little speckles on its chest, that actually means that it is a male. So you'll be able to do a little bit of bird IDing as well. But Gertie, she has done a fantastic job. I think she's actually headed off home. Let's give her a little round of applause. Well done, Gertie. So we are now going to be moving away from the owl family, and we're going to be met by probably our noisiest resident that we've got here. There you go, he's saying hello already. Now he is, as I said, a very, very noisy bird that we've got here. So he is actually found out in Australia. So out there they are known as the Bushman's alarm clock. And that is because you can actually hear these guys first thing in the morning doing their amazing territory call. And this is basically to tell other kookaburras that he's around and that is his territory, so not to come over. But this is the fantastic bomb borer. So he is our laughing kookaburra. So he's actually the largest member of the kingfisher family. So you might have noticed that he does look very similar to that native bird that we have here in the UK. So he does have that lovely long beak on him, and he can use that to be able to catch flies and different insects and stuff out of the air. But if he does want something bigger, he can also use that as well to his advantage. So they are super, super amazing. Now, one of the things that people think, because he's part of the kingfisher family, they presume he might catch fish, but he actually doesn't. So that is a little bit of a misconception. So these guys do actually, out in Australia, you can imagine there's going to be lots of lovely lizards and snakes and stuff and frogs, and these guys will actually catch those if they want a slightly larger prey item for them to have a good old tasty munch on. So in a moment he will hopefully be showing you some amazing behaviours that these guys would actually do out in Australia. So obviously out there they do all the snakes and stuff. They might actually be venomous, but Bombora, to make sure he's not going to get hurt and that prey is going to be a bit easier for him to be able to digest, he will actually use that big old beak to catch his prey, and then what he would do is he would actually slam it onto a hard rock or surface to make sure it's going to be a bit squishier and easier for him to eat. So he'll show you now the one on slam, two, another one, Bombora, good job. So Lenny the lizard here is going to get a bit of a headache, but Bombora, he's a professional, so don't worry. Now Lenny here, he's going to be doing a great job too. He's actually from the Amazon Prime. But Bombora, I think we're going to do one more slam. Good job there. So now Lenny the lizard is going to be much easier for Bombora to swallow. But as I said before, we do lots of fantastic training with all of our birds to make sure that these guys they're always going to get a lovely tasty treat. So you can see that our doors are always left open for them, and that means if they do ever want to, like Tiara, they can obviously always head on home if they do want, so that is completely fine. We try and make sure that the birds always have that free choice, just to make sure that every little session they get to come out is always going to be as positive as it can be. Now in Australia, everybody knows that an Australian does love a barbecue, and kookaburras also love a barbecue. Because just like Tiara, they've used humans to their advantage, and they have learnt that they don't have to go out hunting and work too hard to find some food. They can actually come over to somebody's barbecue and steal their sausages or their burgers off of that barbecue for a nice, easy, tasty treat. And hopefully they won't get cooked toes at the end of it as well. So Bombora is going to come over and show you he's going to get a lovely, tasty treat off of that barbecue as well. I think it is also quite warm today, so the birds are absolutely loving it and having a great little time sunbathing on top of those perches. But yeah, as you can see, he's going to be enjoying that nice little bit there. But Bombora's done a great job, and he's going to be heading off home in just a moment's time. But they are absolutely beautiful birds. You can see all the amazing feathers. So his little tail feathers, they'll actually fan out and help him with his flight and everything. But he's done great. Let's give him a little round of applause. That was the amazing Bombora, everybody. Now we're going to be moving back to the owl family, and we're going to be met by probably one of our larger owls that we've got here at the zoo. So her name is Moby, and she'll be coming out in just a moment's time and joining all of you guys. If Moby does fly above your heads at all, she is a professional. Please just make sure not to stand up, just otherwise you might get a free haircut, which you might not want. But Moby, hopefully she's going to come up nice and close in a moment and show you just how impressive she is. Now these guys, they are, as I said, called a rock eagle owl. So you find them in rocky areas. Out in the Bengal regions, they do also get that Bengal eagle name too, just purely because of where you can find them. But her feathers are absolutely beautiful, and they can help her to camouflage in really well with all that rocky environment that you find them in, to make sure that any sorts of predators or any prey, they can sneak up on them nice and easy, so they're not going to be able to see them too well. But Moby owls, they actually do have these little serrations in their feathers. So this helps them to do something called silent flight. So when they're flying above you, hopefully Moby will demonstrate in a moment's time, when she does fly above, you actually can't hear her wings flapping at all. So it's an amazing little adaptation that these guys do have. So it means that they can sneak up on their prey without them being able to hear them at all. So it's an absolutely fantastic little adaptation that they do have. Now if you have a close little look at Moby's eyes as well, you will see she's got these lovely yellow coloured eyes, and that actually tells you the time of day. I'm going to say silence for a moment so you can hear. How amazing is that? Did anybody hear Moby flapping her wings? No, she's going to show you just to get again how amazing she is working. So fingers crossed you won't be able to hear her the second time. We're going to go like, oh, that's a little slip. We're going to go Moby. There we go. Perfect. So no, hopefully none of you heard Moby flapping her wings that time. And if you didn't, that means she is working spot on and as she should be. But these guys, if they do want a nice tasty meal, you actually see them sitting outside caves and things, waiting for a nice tasty bat to fly out. So they are sometimes known as a bit of a lazy hunter, but we like to call them energy efficient. So it means they're not going to have to work too hard. They can just sit outside of those caves and wait for a bat to fly out, and then hopefully catch it just like so. How amazing is that? So they do have these incredible talons to be able to hold on to that prey and catch it nice and easily. Now, who here today has seen all of our big cats? Yeah, you all seen them? Now Moby's going to show you something much more terrifying than the big cat. She's going to show you a scary charge. Oh, I heard some laughs, guys. Moby's been working really hard on her scary charge. Can we please try and act scared to make Moby feel a little bit better? Are we all ready? Here is Moby's scary charge. Was that scary? Now, believe it or not, this is actually something that a rock eagle owl would do out in the wild to actually protect their babies. So when they do have their chicks, they are a little bit clumsy. And what these guys will do, they actually build their nest down on the ground to make sure the babies aren't going to fall out of any trees. But when they are down the ground, they are at a little bit of a risk of being trampled on by any big rhinos or any other bigger animals. So to make sure that no one's going to hurt her babies, so that she doesn't, they don't get trampled on, Moby and other female rock eagle owls will actually do that scary charge to warn off any other animals, so that her babies are always going to be lovely and safe. But she's actually going to head off home in just a moment's time. But they are super amazing mums. But as I was saying before, you can see if you look at the colour of her eyes. So all of our owls, if you have a little look at them, if they have really dark coloured eyes, that means they actually will come out at night time. With Moby, she's actually a crepuscular hunter, because you can see from that like orangey sort of colour. And if they have bright yellow eyes, that means they'll come out in the daytime. So it's a nice little handy trick for you guys to learn. Now we do actually only have 2 more birds that are going to come out. I'm sorry to say, it is nearly the end of the show. But without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do all the amazing work that we do here. So you guys, all the money that you spend here helps go towards lots of our wonderful charities. One of those is Hootown, which does help our hornbills out in the wild as well. So thank you very much for that. Without further ado, we will be met by the next 2 birds, and they are pretty terrifying. So if any of you guys have seen the dinosaurs today, you're pretty much going to be met by a living dinosaur. So these guys are the closest living relative to the terror bird. They were actually a prehistoric bird that lived around 1.5 million years ago. So we've given these guys some really terrifying names because they have to live up to that reputation. So first of all, we are being met by Sylvia, and then her sister, Lily. So absolutely terrifying names indeed, to live up to that reputation. But these guys, they actually are sisters. So they joined us last year and they've settled in really well. You can see there they've got some great bonds with our keepers, and they're doing some fantastic training today as well. Now these guys are called a red-legged Serema, which is a little bit confusing because if you have a look at their legs, they're actually orange. So I'm not sure who named them that. Bit confusing, but you do also get the black-legged Serema, and they do actually have black legs. There are slightly different variations with them. But you'll naturally find these guys out in places like Brazil and Bolivia. So out there, they will find some lovely snakes, just like how Sylvia's doing. And listen to Bombora, she will slam that snake down to the ground. So they are actually known for catching that venomous coral snake that you can find in grasslands and stuff. So to make sure she's not going to get bitten, and it's going to be nice and squishy and easier for her to digest, and then she's not going to get hurt or anything, she will slam it down onto the ground, onto a hard surface, to make sure she's going to be able to swallow that nice and easily. But this is actually a newer behaviour that we've been teaching Sylvia, and you can see she definitely enjoys demonstrating that natural behaviour that they would be doing out in the wild. They do eat a lot of variety of things, so not just snakes. They will also catch any other small mammals too, so any like little mice and things. They do come across any berries and stuff too, though they'll have that, and any seeds and nuts and things. They have quite a nice varied diet. But these guys are actually a farmer's best friend, because out in the wild, obviously if they're going out trying to find any nice tasty snacks and things in that farmland, they do actually have a really loud alarm call. And this can not only warn other Suremas if there is a predator around, it will also tell the farmers that there is a predator, and it means that they've got to quickly then move all their animals to make sure their animals in the farmland are also going to be safe as well. So they are really, really cool animals, and the farmers do love them out there. But they do have these amazing long legs. As you can see, they do a lot more running, a lot more walking around on the ground than they do flying. So they are actually good flyers. They do have their lovely widespread wings too, but they will spend a lot more time down there. So they can do lots of jumping. As you can see, we're still doing some nice jumps there. I'm just going to show you just how impressive those legs are. So they can catch things out of the air, but those long legs can actually help them to reach up to 40 miles per hour as well, if they do want to catch up to their prey, but also to get away from those predators. But they've actually taken themselves off home. Let's give them a round of applause. How amazing were they? Now, as I said, sadly, that was our last two birds of the show. But thank you very much for all coming and listening. There will be another talk at 1:30, and that'll be to learn all about our lovely tortoises. That's just over to the side if you're interested to learn about those guys. From myself and the rest of the bird team, thank you very much. If you've got any more questions, feel free to give a shout. But enjoy the rest of your day here at Hertfordshire Zoo.